Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. I'm excited for today's episode. I'm speaking to a spiritual teacher, mentor, and guide from Bright Shining Light. And what she does is she helps people align with their soul, enhance their intuition, and build confidence in using their energy gifts. Very excited to be rocking out today with Naranjan Nota. Hey, Naranjan, you ready to rock?
I am, Tim. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
No problem. I'm excited too. So we always start off here in a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Make a change. Go for it. Do something. If it's inspiring, if it's energizing, if it lights you up from the inside, follow it through. Follow the path of excitement. Follow it through.
Right on. And how did you follow the path?
My intuitive gifts got louder, and my guides and the people around me got louder in sharing what I'm good at, because we don't often see what we're good at within ourselves. So that was coming at me from external sources, but also internally as well. So taking that leap of faith in myself, really betting on myself to a certain degree, and making a change. And really stepping into a deeper purpose of what I'm here to do, how I'm here to do it, and following the guidance of my soul.
So do you think everybody has guidance from their soul, or is it just certain people?
I think everybody has it. It just depends on how much you want to listen to it. Because some of the choices that we get to make, because they're not always, it's a choice. The choices that we get to make are not always easy.
Yeah. So how would you, if someone was maybe not following their intuition, following their guides, how would they know whether something's coming from a guide or whether it's something else?
Typically, when it's coming from an intuitive sense or a higher power that is in alignment for your highest and greatest good, the messages and the signs would be quieter, loving, or more gentle whispers. Whereas if they come in from an external source, the ego, external sources, environments, and a belief system that's been embedded, they're pretty loud.
Interesting. So, for example, then that's probably a problem with most people because they listen to the loudest voice rather than the quiet stuff. It's really easy to ignore a quiet nudging, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So you've got to quieten your whole world and be a little bit more still to allow that whisper to get a little bit louder.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's probably like the difference between something that feels right or something that you're being pressured into, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But in the same token, from my belief systems and the principles in which I teach and support individuals on, recognizing the resistance and the pressure in itself is a message. So it's not like there's a pressure and there's a resistance happening, so I'm going to ignore that because I've got to now follow the quieter, softer, gentle whispers in life. Everything has a meaning. So we need to unravel what that bigger, louder message also is trying to get your attention to.
Yeah, because what you said earlier is that the voices were getting louder, or the messages were getting louder, and I think that that's interesting because I think you're probably right. I mean, if you continue to ignore that little whisper, it eventually is going to end up being like a hammer or a sledgehammer eventually, right?
Exactly. A 2x4 often, as some people that I know. Well, it will feel like a 2x4. Yeah, absolutely.
So, on your journey, not everything kind of goes as planned, right? I mean, can you explain to me, like maybe give me something about the bad note, something that didn't go as planned, or maybe something that you didn't listen to that we can learn from?
The quiet whispers, I mean, from my own experiences in life, leaning into our own trust and leaning into our own gifts of who we are. What is it that really comes natural to us? and lean into that and not take advantage of, okay, I'm good at that, so let's focus on the hard stuff that I'm not good at.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's and that I think that's pretty good advice because we are sort of like taught to improve our weaknesses rather
Absolutely.
than improve our strengths because we're already good at it,
Absolutely.
right? We improve our weaknesses. But
Absolutely.
and and I think that's taught through school mostly, right? I mean,
Yeah,
when our parents look at our report card, the only thing they really point out is what's the lowest grade.
absolutely.
You get
Absolutely.
this grade up right here, but they don't notice that you got an A plus in something else, right? I
Yeah,
mean, they
exactly.
notice it, but the focus is usually on that lowest grade, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And that's the hard part, right? Because that is a nurtured and ingrained behavior and belief system to a certain degree that we all get embedded on, be it from childhood, but also in the workplace too. I was in corporate for probably about 15 years, and there were many HR reviews or even peer to peer reviews that we'd done. And we'd had many conversations about focusing on the weaknesses rather than enhancing the strengths. So
Yeah.
it's embedded in all parts of our lives. Yet, as entrepreneurs, we're kind of taught the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. We're taught to go towards our strength and hire somebody to handle those weaknesses, right?
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely. Yes.
that's not to say that, we probably need to have like some base knowledge of some of the weaknesses, because otherwise, when you hire somebody, how do you know whether they're doing a good job or not, right?
Absolutely. Of course. I mean, the beautiful analogy of that is, I'm not Italian. I don't know if you're Italian. I can't make pizza really well, but it's okay. It's not bad.
Mhm.
However, do I have the basic awareness and knowledge of what that looks like? Absolutely. Can I drive a car to go to A, B, from point A to B? But am I a Formula One driver? No.
Mhm.
Maybe in another lifetime, but that's a different story. So we all can grasp the high level summarization of certain aspects of life, but it doesn't mean that we need to be experts in all of them.
Yeah, that's true. And so now, what about some of the instruments, some of the tools that you use in your business? Are there any that you can share with us that we could use to get success in our business?
Absolutely. I think from my business, the most crucial part is, especially as entrepreneurs and especially as from people that work from home, is taking time away from this beautiful thing called a computer. These magical and amazing devices that we have that keep us tethered together, to untether from them as well is equally important, to regain and reconnect with your own heart, your own intuition, and your own inner wisdom and guidance is very crucial. We've all perhaps heard the analogy of, when there's a challenge or an obstacle that shows up in life, sleep on it. Tomorrow you might get a different outcome, or it might feel different. It's the same analogy. Step away from the busyness that we create, and some of it's very exciting and enjoyable and thriving, yet stepping away gives us the balance that we often need to be able to go, okay, now I can go all creative and create different notes and tunes and different parts of life in this. So having that balance and having the discipline to be able to do it is very crucial.
Yeah. Well, and there's like something, I don't know if you play any instruments, but I have noticed that, when you are learning something on any instrument, really, sometimes you can be like just practicing it over and over again. You just can't get it, right?
Mhm.
And it's just not coming out. Then you step away and you go do something else, whether it be sleep on it or just go away for a couple hours. You come
Right.
back, you pick
Yeah.
up the instrument, and it's right there.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Right? Like you
It is.
push and push and push and push and you can't get it, but then you walk away and you come back and it's there. So do you think that that's like a similar thing, in this? I mean, if you step away from the computer and come back to it, do you think you had more focus that way?
Absolutely. I mean, neurologically, our pathways are designed to, on a scientific level, for us to receive information and digest it in order to simulate it neurologically and those pathways to get wired together. We need a bit of time because we're still a human instrument, right? We're still a human body. That blood circuitry and all that stuff needs to happen. And that's that stepping away process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
allowing it to do what it needs to do in the background. Then when we go at it, then we tap into that space and come back.
Yeah, I think we're too focused on trying to make it happen, right? Trying to force through it. Whereas, we can let our bodies, I guess, are,
Yeah.
the things that we
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
understand, figure it out because they're processing it as soon as you walk away, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just giving ourselves time and the energy to be in flow to present itself. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about like mentorship and coaching and all that kind of stuff. Like, what about you? Like, do you hire coaches? Do you have mentors? Like, what's your experience with that?
One thing that I learned early on, in the space of self-employment and in the space of entrepreneurship, more primarily, is to get myself a coach, get myself a business strategist, get myself people who are experts or are ahead of the game of where I am for what I want to build, or have skills, insights, knowledge, and wisdom that I can leverage and support in what I want to build out of my life. So that's something that I valued and recognize is really powerful right from the get-go. And I've been self-employed for probably 10 years, if not a little bit longer than that. So it's an ongoing thing, and having different people in our lives to do different things. So typically, if you are challenged with different food allergies, you're going to go and see a dietitian.
Mm.
You're not going to go and see a chiropractor to fix your dietary issues. It's the same analogy as a self-employed, as a business owner. I'm going to seek support from different modalities and different skill sets for me to live and to present and create what is it I want to create out of this life.
Right on.
Highly important. Highly important. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And do you like I find that there's a lot of people that are hesitant to hire coaches and mentors and stuff like that. Well, I wonder why that is.
Perhaps they can maybe justify the cost, I don't know, or leaning into the trust of that others can help them, because we've all had the analogies. You read 20, 30 books a day, or, over a period of a month or so, you become the expert in that topic. However, the integration of that information leans in itself. So we can read all these books, but we've got to digest and integrate it and put it into practice. You can't get that overnight. You can't get that even within 2 years in an industry. That takes time.
Yep.
That
Yep.
takes actual real life lived experiences. So I don't understand why people don't really have coaches, because it's an analogy of do as I say, not do as I do.
Yeah. Especially when coaches don't have coaches, right?
Absolutely. But even as entrepreneurs, I don't care what level that looks like. Having somebody to guide you and look at your life from a different perspective is crucial. Whatever industry you're in. I mean, for yourself in the music industry, for instance, I'm sure there are people or tunes or instruments or sounds that you hear that you gravitate towards and go, okay, that's a new version of something that I'm curious to learn more about.
Yeah. Hey, Rockstar. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. If you didn't know already, my business is Creative Crew Agency. We build websites. Now, let's talk about your website for a minute. Most people realize that at this day and age, we need a website, but we don't really know what the website is supposed to do. And sometimes you'll just go and build a website for the sake of building a website. What I do is I make sure that your website
actually accomplishes a goal. Now, there are three main goals to most websites. Number one is to provide information and build credibility. Number two is to schedule some sort of appointment and get them onto a sales call. Number three is to sell something like an e-commerce site. Now, when you're setting your website, you have to be very mindful that the visitor doesn't know what to do. And so you have to provide them with a roadmap that leads them down a path to wherever you want them to go. On my website, I want them to be on a free consultation. So that's why when you go to creativecrewagency.com, you'll see information about scheduling a free consultation. Now, for you, though, I'm going to provide you with an extra link so that you can get your free website audit. Go to creativecrewagency.com/free website audit and schedule an audit with me. And I'll go through your website live and determine what we can do to improve your conversions and make sure that you're getting the business from your website. Go to creativecrewagency.com and we'll see you there.
Well, and what you said about like reading books and becoming an expert, it would be like reading sheet music or reading the notes and knowing what the notes are, and then
Yeah,
thinking that I can just pick up the instrument and play it immediately. Like we just
exactly.
talked about that a second ago. Like sometimes, like you know
Exactly.
what you're supposed to hit, it's just your
Yeah,
fingers aren't doing it, right?
right.
And I
Exactly.
imagine it would be, well, I know from experience that it's the same thing. You can read a book, but then actually implementing that thing that you just read is a totally different thing. You
Yeah,
know, like intellectually what you're supposed to be doing,
right.
but just making yourself do that is sometimes a little
Exactly.
bit challenging, right?
Exactly. So I heard loosely a bit of a stat, and I might, butcher this. However, when we learn a new concept or a new principle or learn a new um, music of some sort,
Hmm.
we typically need 20 to 30 minutes to digest that information in order to put it into practice. Something around that by doing something completely opposite.
Yeah.
So if we build our lives based on that, then it's totally validating that we need somebody with years of experience to understand, acknowledge, digest, learn from it, and then have the wisdom from that knowledge to be able to share it with others.
Right on. And
Yeah.
how do you go about finding the right mentors and the right coaches for you in your business, in your life?
For me, it's very much intuitively led because I work in the realm of intuition and from my higher self and other energetic realms that I can kind of connect with. And I've been doing that for probably about 20 years in following that path, following those nudges and those guides, because I've seen the opposite when I don't. So for me, those messages have got really loud. So I follow the path of where I'm being led. And then tune in, is this right for me at this moment of time?
Right on.
So
I
it's a
think,
meditative process somewhat.
yeah, and I think that's smart too, because oftentimes you can, on paper, see somebody that was like perfect,
Yes.
but you might not have the right, feeling about that. And I know that, from my experience, there's a lot of people that know exactly what to write on a resume, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that they necessarily have that experience. It's like what we just talked about earlier. They could be a coach that doesn't have a coach, right?
That's right. That's right.
But you're not going to know that by looking at their resume because their
Yeah,
resume is perfect. But you
absolutely.
are going to know that inside yourself, right?
Absolutely. And even to the same analogy of personality testing, I don't know if you've done this, but I've done this in terms of hiring and working with individuals. There are a myriad of personality testing, Clifton Heights, and like there's so many of them. Even those can be manipulated. We know that, right? So the classic is Myers-Briggs. We can create a very specific outcome. But what we know for sure is our own sensing and our own feeling with somebody we can't deny.
Yeah. Yeah, we really have to listen to that because, I think that one of the things that has come up on the show before is that it's, like some people, when they talk about the bad note, they'll talk about somebody that they hired or somebody that they brought on that,
Mm,
it didn't work out.
mm,
And it's like clockwork. Every single time they're like, yeah, there was a couple red flags, or something felt off. Like there's always that part in the story, right?
That's
it's
right.
it's it's very rarely, I can't think of an instance where someone just got blindsided and they didn't have any type of like clue leading up
Right.
to it, right?
Right. Yeah. There's always those little nudges. There's always those little voices in the back going, "You sure? You sure?" But then we
Yeah.
override it, justify it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think we
So-
sort of give people the benefit of the doubt, which is good. I mean, it's our own, we are forgiving, I think, right? And so we're like,
Mhm.
well, something doesn't feel right, but you know what? This person seems nice. I want to give them a chance. Right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think maybe what I'm thinking now is like, it's not whether they're a good person or not. It's whether it's the right fit for you. Like they could be a great person, and maybe they are actually really awesome at what they do with somebody else. Doesn't mean that they're a
Absolutely.
bad person. It just means that for some reason there's a weirdness that you're
Mhm.
feeling, and you should probably listen to that, right?
Absolutely, because there's a lesson in there in it for you.
Hmm.
So that weirdness, that benefit of the doubt, or let's give it a try, or you never know, all of those are bigger markers and nudges for your own journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything that happens around us is for our own growth and evolution.
Yep. And maybe the thing is that maybe you saying, giving them the benefit of the doubt, or doing let's give it a try, and then learning that it didn't work, that's like a lesson for you to go, okay, you knew. Like
That's right.
your spirit tried to tell you. So that's like the learning experience that you're supposed to experience, is you're supposed to go through that failure in order to
Yep.
learn that your nudge was there. Right?
Absolutely. And maybe the other justifications that you had given for whatever reason, of maybe they needed a job,
Mm.
maybe they were lower in price, maybe the proximity was there, or the availability really fit. So whatever justification you gave that benefit of the doubt is what you've to look at.
Mm. Yeah. Wow, it's deep.
Right.
So now you've been self-employed now for, you said, 10 years. So tell me a little bit about your jam room. Tell me about how you've set up your home office so that you can be productive and get things done.
I've set up my home office pretty much on this little thing on a computer. So
Mm.
I do travel a fair bit, and that how I've set things up allows me to do that. So the physical space, not as important as you can tell. It's not as pretty as what it normally would be. However, it's the content and how I move through it when I work with individuals, because I work with individuals remotely, is the most important piece for me. So my setup is more on an energetic space. So clearing the energy and the environment around me so things can be in flow and I can receive the right messages from my clients and support them through the transformations. So that setup, so to speak, is pretty simple to a certain degree.
Hmm. Yeah, it's nice to be able to work from a laptop, right? It says this
That's
room,
right.
you could be anywhere, right?
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That was one of the prerequisites of my business actually when I was getting started, is I got locked into something that was more physical. And I'm like, no, no, I want something where I can be working from a laptop so I can be anywhere, right?
That's the beauty of it. Yes. Yes, exactly. It's important.
Yep. So now, is there any other, like you said that you clear the area and all that stuff, is there anything that we can do to sort of clear the energy that anybody can do?
Energy is really important and it's really powerful of how it influences our lives. So, having a clean workspace, whether you can recognize and work in your organized chaos, doesn't really matter. From my perspective, having that clean environment, being somewhat of a minimalistic, I guess that's where I'm gravitating, and that's where I'm leaning into a little bit further. Less really is more.
Hmm.
It really is. So the more simplistic we can have life, the more energy will flow. Because when logically, even when there's more stuff, there's less of a pathway to get through. This energy doesn't flow as fluidly and as creatively, however you want to attach that analogy, be it to creative endeavors, financial endeavors, opportunities, or abundance, or however you want to make that connection. The flow is not there. You can't expect a breeze of air to come through a window if the window's already boarded up. It's not going to happen. So having a clean workspace in terms of tangible pieces, but also physically clean, I think is really, really important for an environment and for have that energetic flow to happen. So as much as that's on a physical realm, it's equally important to have it translated on this technical realm too. So my device in itself is very minimalistic in terms of the apps that I use and all these other opportunities that we have to really delve into spaces and places and capture and save information. Yeah, I'm paring it all down even further. So,
Well, and you know what? That's something that you can control too. Like, because maybe it might be a little bit difficult to think about how do I clear up all the stuff in my head. You know,
yeah,
it's a lot, I don't know, less tangible, but you can clean up the stuff on your desk, right?
yes,
You
absolutely.
really can do that. You can. It doesn't
Yeah.
take. Yeah. So and also I have noticed that, and I'm not sure if you noticed, but you know, especially with my kids, like my kids are teens, I've noticed that the state of their room tends
Mm.
to be really related to the state of their mind, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and it's very, very difficult to get, you know, and to get them to, like, you know, just clean your room. Oh, I'm fine. I know where everything is, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but you can even just tell by the way that they answer the question
That's
whether,
right.
right? And so I imagine that, you know, if you can see that in your family and all that stuff, maybe it's one of those things that we can see in ourselves as well. You know, if you look around your room, you know, if there's things everywhere, which actually I'm looking around right now, I could use some cleaning myself.
Good.
I, I imagine that would translate, and I know that for sure because I do know that when I'm feeling very overwhelmed, if I just clean my room, like just organize everything in my room, I find I sit down and it really does clear your head.
Absolutely. And that's what energy does, right? So we change the energy when we move things and when we change the relationship to things. So we take out the garbage, so to speak.
Mhm.
That's changing our relationship to the garbage sitting there because it's already out, it's done. So now it frees up capacity and bandwidth, for the lack of better terms,
Yeah.
in our mental space and in the physical space too. So when we change the relationship to people, places, and things, it changes the energy to how we relate to and how other people relate to us.
I love it. Okay, so it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's
Oh
exciting
my
in your
gosh.
business right now.
I'm excited to be hosting retreats. So I will be hosting retreats a couple of times a year in different parts of the world. So I'm excited about that, to get some delicious one-on-one time, but also in a communal setting too, for individuals who really want to delve deeper in their personal growth, but also realigning with their soul. That I'm excited to do. The other piece is staying in a place of gratitude. I published a gratitude journal a couple of years ago. I still find great value in staying in a place of gratitude. So that is available for individuals to participate in. And then, of course, an opportunity to work with me one-on-one. I would be honored to support individuals on their soul journey.
Oh, well, so who do you work with? Do you work with people that are just beginning their journey or people that are on their way? Like who's the most ideal person for you?
I have a couple of opportunities for individuals. I support individuals who this is all very new.
Mhm.
I can support individuals and give them a different perspective, but also, most importantly, hold space for them as they nurture into new territory, into new ground. My ideal client are individuals who have already stepped into this space. They're aware of what energy is. They feel it, they sense it. They might have read a few books here and there, and now, collecting a few more, which becomes shelf help. We know that. So, but they're curious in making those shifts because they've done a few things and they've seen the shifts in their own lives. So be it healthcare practitioners, other spiritualists, because I offer a very different perspective of how energy can be transformed and given our own power back. We get our own power back and really connect with ancestral lineage. So individuals who are aware, but who are also very driven to making a change. Because we all know individuals who say, yeah, I really want to do that. I'll get to it. 3 years later, they're still thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this very early on in the conversation. There needs to be a sense of urgency, a desire in order for a change to happen. But you've got to take the step to do it.
Yeah. You can't change anybody who doesn't want to change, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. So how do people find out more?
Go to brightshininglight.com. All the information's on there. I am on socials too, LinkedIn and Instagram and all those fun places, but all path leads to brightshininglight.com. So come and join me on that side.
Awesome. brightshininglight.com. I love that domain, by the way, too. That's
Thank
that's
you.
great.
Yes.
Thank you so much for rocking out with me today. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tim. Loved it.
Awesome. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.